Hey guys, what's up? So we've got a bit of a situation in the same way that Japan has, within the OCG, introduced remote dueling. As we know, even with lockdowns reducing within lots of countries, some are still under these strict conditions, and even going into the future, most countries are going about this social distancing. Therefore, they can't be holding these kind of events kind of in reality within tournament shops, especially if your local shop tends to be quite a small place. They are saying that they're going to have some rewards to pick up later, which will encourage people to continue playing, even if it has to be from a distance. It says here, remote duels arrive to the TCG, at least within the EU section for now. I'm not quite sure about the Americans, but I would assume that since it's happening in the EU, it will probably happen in America within time. With their kind of other problem at the moment as well, I don't think the TCG is any rush in trying to deal with that. It could actually endanger people, and it's just not a good idea to be dealing with that at the moment. Duels can be conducted through Duel Links, Legacy of the Duelist, both the Vanilla and the Evolution, and by using physical trading cards through a camera. Official tournament stores can host remote duel tournaments. You can find participating stores within this Discord link. Stores will also receive remote duel game mats and mini mats for prizing. And due to the nature of remote duel being different from a regular in-person tournament, stores may have to coordinate them differently, for example with longer round times or a longer schedule for the tournament. There will also be some promotions in the upcoming days for participating duelists, so it says to just make sure to follow their social media accounts of the TCG EU office. They are showing here you can win secret rare versions of both United We Stand and Guardian Angel Joan as promos. So this is what I'm clicking now is the link towards how you set up for the remote dueling, and this is off the official website itself. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, your official tournament store can now offer remote duel, a new option available to OTS to hold sanctioned tournaments. With the disruption of regular in-store events that allowed official tournament stores to hold tournaments and engage with their community, it's become difficult for duelists to regularly meet up for duels. We hope that by using remote duel, duelists and OTS can stay engaged and play Yu-Gi-Oh! While respecting social distancing and other health guidelines and staying safe during these challenging times. Now they say you can use, there are 4 basic types of tournament. You have Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. This is a free mobile app which can also be used on the computer. Since it's free to play, you have the benefit of being able to kind of use the speed duels format. That's how Duel Links works. I would say the biggest disadvantage of that is, even though it's a free to play app on the phone and it's downloaded on the computer, in order to access all the cards, you do have to pay some money if you want to get access to all cards, or you're going to have to try and spend time grinding to get as many gems as possible to buy up as many packs to get all the cards. Because when you open a pack, you're not guaranteed to get new cards. You'll get repeats, and especially the higher rarity cards, the ultra rares and the secret rares. You might get one, and then you might be missing one of the other key cards from it. That's kind of the disadvantage of it. Legacy of the Duelist, both Legacy of the Duelist and its a newest version, Legacy of the Duelist Link Evolution, are good games to be introduced to. The disadvantage of the original Legacy of the Duelist is it's not going to have the most updated cards. You'll have them up to a certain point. And then, of course, it kind of falls off a cliff So if you're looking for an older style tournament, I'm sure they will still be, if they're going to be doing Legacy of the Duelist, I'm sure they'll try and kind of specify between the two. That way they're going to not discourage kind of like the fan base who might not have been able to afford the newest version. And it's just fairer that way. Obviously, Legacy of the Duelist Link Evolution is the most up-to-date game. It's not that old. I think it's about less than a year old, so it's not that big of a deal. Again, because it's more recent, you'll have more players actually entering those types of tournaments rather than the original. So if you can afford the newer version, I would suggest picking that up. Just because we don't actually know how long this social distancing will maintain. If anything, we've been told that the vaccine for the virus could take anywhere between 12 and 18 months. By the earliest, you are looking at a vaccine maybe, I'm saying March, April next year, potentially as late as something like October next year, which is a bit of a scary thought, but at least they're giving you options. I mean, they could do nothing really. They could just say, okay, we're going to be giving you these packs, but you need to, spend your money on them. And of course, they're going to actually have a Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. I think this is good because those players are kind of going to be incentivized to still pick up the physical cards to use, and it can kind of be refereed. You can have a referee make sure that all the decisions made within the game are followed. However, it is going to take a lot longer, especially if you're going to have to record the footage. There are times where maybe your internet goes down, it gets slower, or issues where you might cut out. There are certain countries, and even within the UK where I am based, you have the more rural areas. People who are in that those areas are going to find it very difficult to participate, and I'm sure it will kind of it will make certain people suffer more than others. There will be those who want to play, but are based in areas where you're not able to get a good enough connection to justify being able to play. Those are the people I feel quite sorry for, but it's just the state. It's just the situation. It says please contact your local OTS to see if they are running remote duel tournaments. Note that official tournament stores maintain the right to set entry fees for tournaments, provided they give duelists commensurate pricing. This can be delivered to duelists using appropriate means available to them with the COVID-19 requirements of their city and national guidelines, including tracking the pricing and holding it at the OTS until they resume normal business, offering curbside pickup, or utilising their online via postal service. I think that's probably what they're going to do. They will have, say for example, okay, you win the tournament, we're going to send you a box of whatever the latest set coming out from Yu-Gi-Oh! Is, and that's as much as they probably do. I don't see the curbside picking up going to happen because that will involve kind of having to change how the store operates. It's just easier to just do it via recorded delivery. It says here that you should check this link for a list of currently participating OTS stores. This list will be updated periodically. If you don't see your local store listed, reach out to them and encourage them to participate in remote duels. As an additional incentive for your store to participate in remote duel, they're sending out these exclusive mats and mini-mats to be used by the store for a future in-store event. I like the design because it actually it's trying to put a bit of a positive spin on this, but it's part of the way I see it is it's part of our history. It's not something we can do much about, but we just have to kind of live up to it. Now, I'll actually have a look at the OTS stores in a second. I'm just going to cover the rest of this. Setting up for remote duel. Your setup for a remote duel tournament will depend on which tournament type the OTS will be running. For all tournament types and for the best possible experience, a stable, wired internet connection is highly recommended. Also ensure you have an account for the communication method assigned by the OTS. Below are brief setup guides for each of the tournaments and some important things to keep in mind. For Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links tournaments, all duelists must use the latest software version of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. This shouldn't be an issue because whenever there's an update, it just says please update, and that's it. You just click on it and it will update itself. If you're downloading Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links for the first time, you will need to be at stage 4 to enter the PvP arena. This will require playing the game for about 15 minutes. Again, this isn't a problem. Getting to stage 4 is easy enough. It's just so that you can unlock the way for you to kind of communicate and duel. For those playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist and the new Link Evolution tournaments, all duelists will need to use the same video game system. So it has to be a PS4 versus a PS4 or a Switch versus a Switch. Duelists must use the same game, either the Legacy of the Duelist or the Link Evolution, as they are not cross-compatible. That's a little bit shocking that they aren't, but that's their decision. And once match pairings are determined by the OTS, one duelist at each table will need to act as the host player and set up a multiplayer match. The settings selected must be based on the tournament rules set up by the OTS. So between you, you're going to have to agree, either you or your opponent has to set up the details for it, and I'm sure you'll need to record the duel and probably send that across to the OTS, to the store itself. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but if you have any confusion, the best place to go to is to contact your official tournament store, as they'll have clear and concise agreements and policies in place to avoid confusion. And for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game tournaments, TCG duelists will need a webcam, a smartphone, or a tablet to display their field to the opponent. I would suggest having a webcam rather than a smartphone or a tablet, just because trying to place the smartphone on the tablet could be a bit wonky, whereas with a webcam you can kind of situate it a lot easier, and you kind of have it on a stand. The camera needs to be flipped upside down so it displays correctly for the opponent. That makes sense. Otherwise, what you're kind of seeing on your screen is going to be, the other way around, and it's just going to be just too confusing. So this is just kind of showing you what you need to be doing. It says, in terms of the remote duel tournament timing, due to their nature, remote duel tournaments will require more logistics and coordination between the duelists playing remotely. So the OTS will set the timing for the results of each round to be reported. For example, the time between rounds may vary from a typical sanctioned tournament at the OTS. Each OTS and their community may have different timing requirements, so tournaments can be held with as much flexibility as needed. Even multiple day tournaments are acceptable for a remote duel if an OTS feels it is necessary. This will probably be based on the numbers of people they have applying for the tournaments. If the stores are being intelligent about it, I wouldn't recommend anything more than about 16 players if it's a small tournament, just so that they can clear all the rounds. Obviously, the information is going to have to be sent in, and the duels are going to have to be watched by the store to make sure no cheating has occurred, and decisions are going to have to be made as of when that happens. What I feel is going to be quite difficult as well is how they're going to report each round. For example, if you've got a 16 person tournament, then you're going to have individual rounds, and so you're going to have 8 duels in that first round. When do you kind of have to report that? I would say the best thing to do is to have it over maybe several days, where the first 8 duels have to be reported by, say, for example, before the store would officially close at maybe 5 p.m. On that same day, and do the same for the next round as well until they get down to the semi-finals. in which case they could say, okay, we're going to have it maybe till about 1 o'clock, and then we need the submissions for the so we can see it, confirm who the duelists are, and then they have their final duel for the finals, and then must be submitted, say for example, the same time at 5 p.m. In terms of the remote duel promotions, it's going to be these two cards. I do find it a little bit unusual why we're getting Unite. I think United We Stand is just kind of like a bit of a symbolism. This is just how we have to be at the moment. And Guardian Angel Joan, I mean, some people might be a little bit religious, so they might have some sort of belief on that. This card itself was used by Rebecca Hawkins in Yu-Gi-Oh! In, I think it was the 4th of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. But otherwise, I don't really see why these cards are being introduced. So as I said before, I'll have a quick look at the participating OTS stores, just for your own clarity. Actually, it requires you to have you need to be part of the Discord. It's easy enough for you to join. You just need to create a username and then just join this. That will kind of give you the information about it. What do you think of the introduction of remote dueling? Did you expect this to happen? Is this going to affect you in any way? Are you in an area which might have low internet connectivity? Whatever you think about the ongoing remote dueling, leave your comments down below, like the video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe.